So next up, we have almost like a startup demo pitch coming up. So it's our own, in a way for Estonians, our own startup where all the Estonians own their shares. It's our e-Residency project, which has gotten a lot of PR, but any infrastructure product is just as strong as the applications we build on top of that, and we all can do that. So Kaspar will tell us a little bit about the background and the current status of the project, as well as then have the panelists discuss what they are building on top of it. So the floor is yours, Kaspar.
Dear Mr. President, dear First Lady, dear friends, dear wife, Karen, thank you for taking time to be here. It's so good to see you in Estonia. I'm so familiar faces here. I'm Kaspar. I'm director of e-Residency. And if you get slides, then I'm going to share with you, which I think is one of the most important experiments of the 21st century. Because it's an experiment how each person can become e-Estonian, and one nation is opening its digital borders to everybody. And if this experiment succeeds, we may end up achieving worldwide digital and financial inclusion. And that's powerful. Going back, you have heard a lot, in 2002 each Estonian received its digital name. So my name is 38712012796. And I think it's a beautiful name. And it's my choice to choose that name. You don't need to be afraid. You know that my name is Kaspar. What are you going to do with my name of Kaspar? Now you know my name is this number. What are you going to do with that? And it's my choice if I want to use that name. But I do want to use because I'm traveling a lot and I'm not in Estonia and I can't do things physically. So just last week, I signed a new contract with my new employee while I was in Amsterdam. A few months ago, I declared taxes, just a few minutes, and I was in New York. Last 3 times I've been voting while I haven't been in Estonia, but I was still part of my democracy. And it feels powerful. The phase 2 of that experiment is that everybody can get that name. So this is e-Residency. It's a pretty similar card. It doesn't have a picture in it, so you can't travel. But you have the digital name. And you can access first the service, and you can digitally sign things. It was a government program. Let's have 10 million e-Estonians 1.5 years ago. And government CIO Taavi Kotka won a scholarship to actually make this happen. So they gave that scholarship to me. I quit my job. I started to run that. So when I started to run that, of course, I didn't have any idea what's it all about. Why should anyone become e-resident? What's the benefit to Estonia? What services they need? So it was quite clear that we need to run this as a normal startup. As a normal startup too. So first thing, what do you usually do if you're a startup? You do some kind of landing page. You try to understand who is your customer, get some traction. So I made a landing page, and next day, when I woke up and went to work, you know what happened? Boom. We are over 4,000 subscribers from 150 different countries, everybody wanting to become e-Estonian. At that point of time, I literally scratched my head. I was like, wow. I thought I'm going to return my work, but then I realized that this actually can be something much bigger. Interest was huge from day one. Since then, we have developed the service together with government and private sector. And it's been really fun in the sense that to change laws in an agile way is a challenge. And first you have to travel twice to Estonia to become e-resident. Then we opened foreign embassies. And by the end of this year, we're going to open internationally centers through visa centers where you can become e-resident. So if you want to become e-resident, you apply online. It costs 100 euros. And then Estonia is going to do background check of you. I assume you're all, or at least most of you, are not criminals. Then you should receive e-residency. and you receive an email that, well done, come and pick up your card on the destination, what you choose. So there are 38 foreign different embassies where you can go and give your fingerprints, show who you are by passport, and you receive the card, this magic box. The main question has always been why people become e-residents. And now, after 1.5 years later, I can quite surely say that I know why they become e-residents. It's been taking some time, but now I know. And I'll give you just one use case. Just to illustrate very, very quickly with one use case. Please meet Stanislav. Stanislav Yurin is from Ukraine. He's a painter, so he loves to paint. He paints a lot. But because of Ukraine political situation, the internal market wasn't growing. And Stanislav had to make the decision whether he quits painting and finds another job, or he heard some e-residency. So he applied e-residency. First he established company, then he established bank account, then he got access to payment providers, Braintree. And using digital signature, 1 year later he's still running his painting company on internet, and he's selling his paintings on internet to everywhere. And the difference is that in most of the countries today, internationally, you don't have tools. You don't have financial tools. You don't have banking tools. You can't do business cross-border on internet. Now, because we recognize him, we say who he is on internet. Every time he logs in, we say, this is Stanislav. And all the private sector companies, including banks, can trust him and can start offering him services, what he didn't do before. And hence, Stanislav is running his online business now, still living in Ukraine, where his family is and where he wants to live, but having access to the same environment what we have here. So what's going on in the world? World Economic Forum estimates there will be 1 billion extra internet users by 2020. But at the same time, World Forum estimates that today there are 73% of people financially excluded. If you're financially excluded from the society, internet access is a great thing to have, but it's not enough. You need applications on top of that. You need digital name to access those services. If you remember yesterday's slide from Sten Damkivi from Teleport, how people are choosing their locations on different matters. Some of them want to stay in Taiwan because their family is there, or to get funding from SiliconValley. And what's going to happen now is that they can do that. You can live where you want to live, and you can have equal rights, because we give you digital identity. And using that digital identity, you can do cross-border business, you can digitally sign, you can administrate your company and everything else, exactly where you want to be. And what is the key here is that we have the application layer on top of that. We have applications for you to start using which you didn't have access before. And using that digital identity, like Stanislav, we verify who they are and that they should have the rights to access those services. We're going to make the world location independent. We're going to make it financially included to everybody. And we're going to empower people. And we're going to empower those people especially who today don't have equal rights and equal opportunities. In some countries it's women, in some countries it's disabled people. On internet, my name is 387-1201-2796, and I have right to access those services. So, the journey has been quite fun. Give you some statistics. We launched embassies 1 year ago. We have over 11,000 e-residents today from 127 different countries. They're running today already over 1,300 companies, and 700 of them are newly created. So they actually established new companies in Estonia today. The product is not ready yet. The MVP #1 will be ready after this summer. And the main things we need to still change is for bank account, you need to come to Estonia. That legislation hopefully will be enforced by this July. We're also going to offer more embassies where you can become e-residents more easily. And we have more services coming. As this is growing much faster than we ever imagined, and personally I didn't imagine the problems the world is facing today. Then we have realized that we can't go on like this. We can't, as a government, build stuff. We are very bad in that. All of those cool government services which I mentioned, most of their UX is like 15 years old. And they're ugly, and we can use those services, but they're not user-friendly. And we can't compete with private sector. That's why we made the decision that we let private sector to lead. We have opened our government to developers internationally to build up new services for e-residents and for Estonians themselves. And make this competition actually create better service for everybody. So I'm very happy to launch here different APIs. APIs for authentication, for digital signing, and just today, going to launch incorporation API. The first government in the world which gives you incorporation API so you can build the establishment of company on your own platform. Imagine that. Because we do believe that together with private sector and together with e-residents, we are going to achieve Earth, which is the country of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaspar. Let's have a quick check. How many e-residents are in this room? Look, quite many. Awesome applause to you guys. Let's hack together.
And thank you. And thank you for being the first e-residents. I understand that there haven't been many services which you can use if you don't want to establish business in Estonia, etc. So thank you for the patience. But the same happy I am today to bring here 5 different companies, 5 different use cases which we have worked within the last few months to give you new services, to offer you something more to use than just incorporation in Estonia. So, please give a warm hand to Rhodri Preece-Jones from NASDAQ, Head of European Systems Development. Rhodri. Microphone. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rhodri Preece-Jones. I shall fight the urge to break into song. I've got a stage, but I have no voice. What I shall do is talk about... Oh, microphone. Oh, I have a microphone, sorry. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, so the stage and audience, I have no voice, but I shall talk about what we've been doing around using the e-residency functionality in NASDAQ itself. I don't know if anybody's heard of the company NASDAQ. It's normally associated with exchanges and clearing houses and CSDs, central security depositories, that we own and operate. We consider ourselves a fintech company. Obviously, we're not a startup, but we consider ourselves fintech, as we have more than 100 customers in over 50 countries. A quick run through. I think I've got five or 6 minutes, so I'll keep it short to allow other people to talk. I've already done a quick NASDAQ introduction. When we looked at the things that are interesting us on the technology space at the moment, we basically see that these elements here that we're showing behind me represent an ecosystem that clients can take more or less of. So we've got the quantum computing, which we see can deliver a lot more performance, microservices, which are independent units, machine intelligence, which is then based off big data. Again, that would all be stored within a cloud service. Cryptography is something that we cover also within the blockchain efforts there. And for the purpose of today, we'll be looking at the blockchain element. So I'll do a very quick introduction as to what is a blockchain, at least from our perspective. Basically have distributed nodes run by separate entities, and they communicate via a cryptographically secured asset ledger. So this is opposed to what we have today, which is essentially a central database, client interface via an API of some shape or form. The advantages of this we see, initially you could issue instruments or assets directly onto the blockchain. So that means that it's not, the storage, the security, the trust is already within the blockchain. What we then see is that participants, these can be banks, individuals, companies, interact directly with the blockchain. They don't go through intermediaries, they go directly there themselves. Again, all transactions would be secured by cryptography, and that's part of the elements of blockchain itself, both public and private keys. And then around the handling of the public keys and how we'd set up our blockchain, we resolve the issue of what's known as double spending. So if you've issued something digitally, if we take a photograph, it's very easy for a photograph to be copied and shared amongst other people. When it comes to financial securities or financial digital bearer tokens, that sharing is not something that we want to encourage. So we limit how people can actually interact with that so you can't overspend, what we call double spending. Again, when you have people interacting directly with a blockchain, you remove these different layers which refer to reconciliation. So everybody's sharing the same view of what's actually the ownership, who owns what, how many shares an individual has, or how many votes somebody's entitled to have. And then from the perspective of what it also offers is, because this is something that's been created today, we also allow it to be 24/7, so it can be available all the time. So the systems that we have in production today, pretty much across the world, were developed to resolve a different set of problems. So if we were to start again today, we wouldn't build the systems that we already have in place. And that's one of the things we find very interesting about the blockchain technology itself, is that it allows us to reimagine some of the services we already have in place. If it turns out that this is something that we can actually do better than we do today, we will actually do that. So we will happily cannibalize some of our own business in order to move things forward. And then the last part here, when we talk about complex transactions, and this is more for the financial securities world, instead of actually going through lots of intermediaries and lots of API transactions, we can construct a contract that will basically do it in one go. So a simple example is if somebody holds a share for a number of years, they can get more preference votes. If somebody wants to do a repurchase agreement, you sell a share, and then 2 years later you want to buy it back, or 2 weeks later you want to buy it back, you can actually program that directly into the contract so that it all automatically will occur. For what we're looking to do together with the e-Residency team, I'll actually talk a little bit now about our second blockchain offering. If anyone who wants to know about the first, please talk to me later on. So today we're looking at the e-voting part. So at the moment, when you have an annual general meeting for a company that's listed on the exchange, in order to vote, you can vote by postal, you can give your vote to somebody else, or you have to turn up there and actually vote. And the voting would occur in a room something like this, with a show of hands, and somebody would note it down. So the process is somewhat manual, it's rather expensive, and isn't overly efficient. So what we wanted to do was find a way to validate what we can do with the blockchain, make it a more streamlined process, allow people to vote individually, so encourage retail participants to get involved, and also to have some form of security so we know we've written things down, we can always record it. That is only actually made possible by using the Estonian ID solutions. So this is where we actually do the process which in the securities world is referred to as Know Your Client, KYC, which also links into the anti-money laundering to some extent, the regulation there. So by using this process, Estonian nationals and imports like myself are able to use this function. We allow them to log on, they validate who they are, we then link it back to their holdings within the Estonian CSD, and then we allocate these people. You can have this many votes because that's how many shares you own. We allow people to vote. They can vote beforehand, they can vote during the annual general meeting, they can change their minds, they can get a snapshot when they voted of where people stand on different issues. So from our perspective, we think this is a really interesting project, and I believe we should be live Q4 this year. And I'm looking at my friend and colleague Hedi there, who she's waved at me. That means that's correct. That's excellent. And as for the future, I've got 56 seconds left, so I can do a short one. What we introduced last week for our customer conference was something called the NASDAQ Financial Framework. And the first application that will be running on our NASDAQ Financial Framework will actually be our e-voting project that we're running here. So that should be live later on this year. I'm going to basically cut it short there because we've got lots of formal people to come along. Do I drop the mic? Is that the way to do it? No, that's not right. Okay.
Thank you, Rhodri. Yes, I'll put that mic here. I don't drop this time. Thank you, Rhodri. We are very thrilled to work with NASDAQ, and we do hope that in Estonian NASDAQ it works out well, and we can launch that internationally, so that you can actually, as an e-resident from some country, become e-resident, establish bank account, buy some shares on NASDAQ, and then be part of that corporation shareholder meetings, and that's awesome. Please, next, come here, Franky Hu from WageCan, CEO and co-founder.
Hi, everyone. I'm Franky from WageCan. So what WageCan do is Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin debit cards. So our goal is to make spend Bitcoin more easier. And now we not only support Bitcoin, but we support various of blockchain assets. Yeah. So we are very pleased to announce that we will be the first blockchain asset app for e-residency. We are from Taiwan, and after we found e-resident, we think it is a good solution for us to solve the last mile of the blockchain problem. Because blockchain itself can only prove the transactions, but it cannot prove the identities. So currently, our customer is from over 100 countries. And we are facing a problem that we do the know your customer process. It's very hard to verify if the ID is the real one or the fake one. Like if user upload their fake driver license or fake passport, it's hard to detect. Because every country has different ID systems. So we proposed a new solution called the eKYC, and we did leverage the advantage of the e-resident, since if a person apply e-resident, they already verified by governments. And after they use their e-resident cards, they can sign the transactions, and they can authorize us to pull their personal data. So we can verify it and pull the data from governments. And I think it is a good solution to detect if the user is, the ID is real or is a fake one. Yeah. So we are integrate the e-residency from today. And our platform is updated now. So for the KYC part, we will be announced in Q3 this year. So like our service provide blockchain access to users around the world. And for e-resident, we can let our user to virtually be in the same nations. So our goal is now revised to connecting virtual nations to the real world. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Franky. We at e-Residency truly believe in cryptography, and we believe in cryptocurrency. And we believe that, of course, because it's anonymous today, you can do some bad stuff with that. By adding e-Residency digital identity, we validate who you are, and actually we can make cryptography and crypto coins much more useful. Thanks. So our third performer out of 5 is from Stampery, co-founder of Stampery, Tommaso Prennushi.
Hi. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Very glad to be here in Estonia with a very Spanish Mediterranean weather. I'm a co-founder of Stampery. Stampery was born in Spain and has been adopted in SiliconValley. And I want to introduce to you Daniele Levi. Daniele is the CEO of Stampery. He's a brilliant tech visionary and a very much better DJ. And this is Daniele Levi again in his e-Residency format, which is Daniele Levi plus a PIN number, as you know, and his identity in digital authentication is absolutely guaranteed. This is whatever document you may imagine. This is a power of attorney, but it could be a contract, it could be a will, or whatever kind of document. Daniele needs to certify or notarize. And once through Stampery the document is notarized, Stampery delivers a certificate with all the information to verify its integrity. How is this possible? This is possible thanks to the blockchain, which has been described as the most important technology since the internet itself, which is a very, very hard word. It was created in 2008 to make digital money work, and with no need of a central authority, a peer-to-peer cash-like system that guarantees that when some digital money moves from A to B, the transaction is irreversible. And every transaction, once confirmed, is recorded on a database called the blockchain. The magic of the blockchain is that once an entry is confirmed, it's irreversible, double spending is impossible, and cannot be modified in any case. This means that A and B doesn't need to rely on trust in their economic transaction. The Economist has defined the blockchain the trust machine. Until the blockchain, trust was a human factor, and thanks to the blockchain, it has become a machine factor, removing the need of trust in government, finance, or business relationship. Trust, as we know it, is slow, inefficient, expensive. Think about the case I made before of a power of attorney and the traditional notary service. It's slow, inefficient, expensive, etc. This can be done today in a matter of seconds, at no cost, and with global validity. Estonia e-Residency has teamed with Stampery to foster a business-friendly environment, leveraging what we call the A3 factor: attribution, accountability, and auditability, which is allowed thanks to the blockchain. Attribution. Estonia has solved in a bright way, globally, one of the main issues in the digital age, which is identity attribution. Accountability. Stampery generates the proof of existence and integrity of any document, communication, or data set, embedding not the document, but the unique identifier of each document, a hash, onto the blockchain, making it irreversible, meaning that cannot be modified, damaged, or destroyed, and it's valid forever, even if Stampery disappears. And auditability. Public permissionless ledgers like the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain are irreversible and not modifiable. And this guarantees a full transparency to the information that is embedded on the blockchain, so that anyone from anywhere in the world at no cost can verify that something has happened at a certain point of time, and with the e-Residency, identity authentication made by someone. And this is really important. There's a huge debate within the industry between public and private blockchains, but only public blockchains are irreversible, because they are secured by the most powerful computer network in the world, and to modify just one entry costs an order of magnitudes of hundreds of millions of dollars. E-Residency shows how important it is to pioneer innovation, to foster a business-friendly environment, business transparency, with less friction at no cost, and with the aim of becoming a global phenomenon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing to understand also with the business environment is that all of those three persons are not from Estonia. If you have established company in Estonia, it doesn't mean you pay taxes here. You pay very great value. So it's up to you to offer services e-residence and generate new revenues to your own country. And that's why I'm very happy that we have also one Estonian startup here on the stage who is going to hopefully generate a lot of revenues to Estonia. So Kaidi Ruusalepp from Funderbeam, CEO and co-founder. Thank you.
Right. Hello, Latitude. It's so nice to be here and so nice to be on the stage talking about the power of e-residency. What is Funderbeam? Funderbeam is first global startup stock exchange built on blockchain. Or actually, to be honest, it's the first stock exchange or stock trading platform built on blockchain in the world. Crazy, isn't it? But hey, we're in Estonia. Everything is possible. But what has blockchain and stock exchange and trading to do with e-residency? The power of the blockchain, and I'm a great believer of the blockchain, is that it's the next big thing. And it's the next big thing because there's one keyword for the future, and it's borderless. We're going to live cross-border. We're going to do business cross-border. We're going to marry cross-border. We're going to buy properties cross-border. So our lives in the future will be cross-border. When we faced the internet, then the internet was a perfect technology to exchange data, to talk to each other, to exchange information wherever we are, whatever time we are in. The blockchain is taking the world to the next level and enabling exchanging values and doing transactions cross-border. Or as Tim yesterday said perfectly, it's a perfect public servant. But the blockchain actually has one big problem, is that the blockchain technology or the blockchain is pseudonymous, which means that you know the people or they know the users on the wallet level, but you don't know who they are. And there are some certain elements in the life which can't be pseudonymous. You can't do business pseudonymous. You can't own share pseudonymous. You can't marry pseudonymously. And this is one very great opportunity for e-residency, and the platform technology of e-residency is that it's making transactions and peoples in the blockchain identified. You know who they are. You can never trade on stock exchange pseudonymously, never. If we do it, the FCA will come right after us, seconds. So if we think about the power of the e-residency and the power of the blockchain, and we combine them together, then we think, or we believe here in Estonia, that we can crack the code for the future. So that is one of the reasons why Funderbeam, for example, is using the e-residency, that it takes away the pain of identifying every single person manually. You have your card, you identify yourself. Estonian state has done the KYC. They've identified the persons, perfect. And the same actually with the trading. It's not just investing. If we think about the Funderbeam, it's also the trading. We can't trade pseudonymously. I can't sell you my shares pseudonymously. So here we are. And then Tim, you got some shares so on the blockchain. So yesterday I was chatting over the dinner table with CTO of Estonia, Taavi Kotka, and I actually told him, why doesn't Estonia build international companies on the blockchain so that we can register the companies and issue or register the first shareholders on the blockchain? So you can imagine that if we have the e-residency, if we have e-residents, and we can also register the international companies, then we're going big. Plus, all the other issues. So this is the next big thing, is that if I identify persons on the blockchain, then we can also enable peer-to-peer. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaidi. I love Funderbeam. Kaidi also, but I love Funderbeam also. And I think I was 7th person if you launched to actually invest on startups, so I'm very proud of that. I invested 250 euros. That was the minimum amount, and you can do that using your ID cards also if you're Estonian, so that's good news. So, last on the stage before our lunch break is actually pretty awesome, because we have a new announcement which you haven't heard before yet. So I don't want to say anything myself, otherwise I will ruin it. Paul Higgins, please come on stage. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Paul Higgins. I'm the CTO of a company called CrowdValley, and I will try and not keep you from your lunch for too long. I'm also talking about fintech and why the fintech industry is excited about Estonian e-Residency, with a particular focus on private securities, investment marketplaces, lending marketplaces. Financial services are changing. I think we've portrayed that message to you with all of our colleagues here on stage quite a bit already. But the financial regulators have come to the conclusion finally that not only does the internet exist, it could actually be quite a good thing. And in the last 5 years, financial regulators around the world have made more improvements and changes and alterations to the financial regulations than at any other point in our lifetimes. CrowdValley provides what we call a digital back office for the fintech sector. So what do we mean by that? We provide something like 150 individual workflows, processes, online building blocks that fintech developers can use to build their own online finance marketplaces. Our API is used by over 100 of the most innovative finance marketplaces around the world, ranging from public and private blended finance investing to real estate lending, equity platforms, solar and clean energy investing, online wealth management, and many others. The 150-odd workflows and features cover everything that you need to get started with your own online finance platform. So that's things like investor onboarding, screening and publishing offering materials, managing investor interest, keeping track of deal rooms and data rooms documents, managing the closing and settlement process, investor communications, portfolio management. But a big part of what we try to bring to the fintech sector is we go out and try to integrate with the best online finance APIs from around the world and develop our own toolkits to make them easier to use for fintech developers around the world. For the past 6-7 years since we started, we've integrated with dozens of these APIs and built all sorts of tutorials, SDKs, and developer toolkits to make them easy to work with. So those cover things like payments, background checks, ID verification, closing and settlement, and share registration, and all of those online services that you can pull into your finance platforms. So this brings me to e-Residency and why we're so excited about it. And today we're thrilled to announce a new partnership between CrowdValley and the e-Residency program that we will provide a whole new suite of developer tools and new processes, new workflows, all based on the e-Residency program. I've been an e-resident for about a year myself now, and as I've gone around and spoken to our customers about it, it's clear that we're just scratching the surface in terms of all of the different use cases that we're going to be developing and our customers are going to be implementing over the next few years. I'll just show a couple of examples, and these are some of the ones that some of our customers are already going to start building now. Identity and authentication is, of course, an easy one. So fintech developers can now plug in, using our API, a way for your investors to sign up immediately to a fintech application using their e-Residency card as the way to authenticate. KYC and AML, this is a really important one. I know others on the stage have already touched on this as well. At the moment in the EU, if you're investing more than 15,000 euros in a particular year, you start to have to go through what is typically called an enhanced KYC process. And that means you have to provide scans of your passport photo or utility bills. These need to be checked by humans. It's totally crazy. But with e-Residency, you can do all of that online. It's really filling in one of the last gaps in a complete end-to-end digital investment process. Very exciting, saves a lot of costs for our customers, and it makes it really easy for the user to go through a digital investment process. And then e-signature. So a very common feature for especially things like equity crowdfunding platforms or private securities platforms is this kind of data room where you need to make sure that the investors who are viewing your documents can sign them, and that the fundraiser, the brokers really know that the people that are looking at the documents and signing them are the people they say they are. The CrowdValley API is used by customers to facilitate billions of dollars worth of deals around the world. Some of the organizations we're going to start taking this to are up here, and many others. As of today, you can start signing up to use the new tools. So please go to our website, crowdvalley.com. If you're a fintech developer or a fintech entrepreneur, sign up for free sandbox access. Let us know that you're going to be using the e-Residency system, and help us understand what kind of use cases you have in mind as well. We're really excited to see what you guys can build with it. So thanks very much. Thanks for Kaspar, and we look forward to it. Thanks.
So do you understand what's going on now? This is changing, like really. I bet you, like after a few years, we could bring tens of thousands of those use cases here. We would have hundreds of thousands of services for e-residents, and we would have hundreds of thousands of e-residents internationally, would be financially included and would have the same opportunities to do everything on internet than we do sometimes here. Thank you for your support, and know that we are here for you. We as a government, we are not here only to offer you APIs. We have private sector supporting APIs. We can help you in promotion marketing because we need more services also. Come to me, come to the team. We have a team here, e-Residency box. You can subscribe yourself here to become e-resident. You can do that at home also, of course. And let's think together what applications e-residents need internationally, how we can make that happen. Thank you for your support. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, we have some minutes left, so we can actually answer some questions also. Please raise your hand if you have anything. Please.
So it just seems to me that the .ee top-level domain is actually going to mean e-Earth.
Thank you. That was a nice comment. I don't want to say anything against that. New questions. Please.
Well, I would suggest that as a next step, you approach the people involved in issuing Schengen visas, because at that point, it becomes much easier to apply for a visa because the information is there already.
Exactly. Exactly. Why shouldn't we have that? By the way, we organized one e-Residency hackathon last summer. It was in Worms Island, very beautiful island. And we had over 40 different nations there internationally coming to an island to hack new services within 48 hours. So thank you, Courage48. You know, the winner was actually InstaVisa. So actually, for e-residents to apply Schengen visa, but of course, they needed government support from us. And to be honest, it hasn't been my focus, our team focus. We haven't managed to solve that. But the truth is that it's exactly, everything is there. We can log like who you are, where did you go. You don't need to meet twice at least or some embassy. The problem here is that we need to change the EU laws. Every time we need to change EU laws, it's a bit more tricky than in Estonia. So, but when you start thinking, then if you have digital identity and you need to travel twice to some person to prove who you are and give your password, it's totally nonsense. The physical passport itself is nonsense, but that's true. And what we can do definitely is what we are doing with, for example, Netherlands. Netherlands would have another seats here, so any Dutch persons here, great, I love your country, because they're also very forward-looking, and they're at the moment thinking of ways how they could offer Schengen visa to their country through Estonian e-Residency. So they are actually going to use our APIs to get Schengen there. I don't know how they managed to solve the EU problem that we faced here in Estonia, but perhaps you're better in that. So let's hope that soon it will be there. And the good thing about e-residency is that if Dutch people make it first, then they get all the revenues. So start thinking how you can generate revenues, what you can build on top of e-residency yourself. Thank you. Let's go to lunch.
I have a question for you. So last year, we did together with Garage48 and e-Residency team a hackathon on Vormsi Island to hack on e-Residency ideas. Have you seen what kind of impact did it give?
We have some great new services. For example, e-Res Network is e-residency community. So if you want to hang around with other e-residents, you can log into eresnetwork.eu, chat with each other. Then we have some more cool services, but I think it takes some time to get the mindset that you have APIs for that. To have those APIs, it doesn't come so easily, let's be honest. And I think we need to organize another Vormsi Garage48. So raise your voice if you would join us.
Hey, let's take a couple of questions from the audience as well, maybe. Does anybody have any questions? Look.
Yeah, so following up on the President's question, where are you in getting agreement from different governments around the world in terms of accepting these standards and
Great
compliance?
question.
Yes. And then the other part of the question is, to what extent can you simply bypass governments? Is that a possibility?
What do you mean by bypass exactly?
Enable us all to do cross-border transactions without having to bother with the governments.
Governments are not bad if they offer you good services, so we don't need to bypass them. We need to make them transparent and offer good services. But coming to the first question, then going into a bit detail is an EU directive called e-IDAS, which will be enforced digital signature already this summer, and digital authentication after 2018, which means that after 2018, as e-residency is on the highest level of privacy, each Estonian e-resident is actually EU e-resident. Because each EU member state's public sector needs to start accepting e-residents' authentications. So in that sense, if you're e-resident, then after 2018, if you're logging into Portuguese e-business register, you should be able to open Portuguese business account.
There are two more questions, Richard and Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. You mentioned the delivery of the e-residency cards at the consulates and the embassies. Those of you who visit Silicon Valley will know that 4 times a year, the consul is going to come to New York to deliver them personally in our office.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there is another question. Can we get the mic there?
Jim Caravella. So one of the most important upcoming legislative issues that is facing our planet is based on the evolution of the Outer Space Treaty. The key issue is mineral resources in outer space and the utility of those, who owns them, how we pay for them, etc. One of the key problems that I've been working on with the Hague Working Group that's just been set up over a 2-year recommendation project is how to administer the legal framework for utilization and then purchase and sale of these goods. I'd like to work with you, Kaspar, on ensuring that we use the e-residency and Estonia to form a basis for a global outer space procurement platform.
That's awesome, but there is
Hell yeah!
There is one problem though. Then your domain name .earth doesn't make sense anymore.
E-Earth's a great starting point.
Yeah.
E-Universe should be, thank you.
There is one more question there from
come
Anguilla.
back there.
He was also on the Wormsy hackathon there.
Can I come back to the statement about how do you bypass governments? Let me give you a good idea, and it's representative of the president being here, and I'm honored to see him again. He was at another performance for the e-government thing yesterday, which was outstanding. But our little country is really a bit of a petri dish, and in a lot of cases, we don't have legislation. So what I'm doing, and I will confess to you that I'm bypassing the government on this, is I'm using e-residency and all of the good attributes that the Estonians have developed, and I see they have to modify some of their laws too, and they're working on the banking issue, as you know. But I'm able to get far enough along with all of the applications that I'm working on with e-residency to actually be driving our government to make changes legislatively that I see you doing too. But I've got a much easier job because we're dealing with a blank canvas. So if any of you have any interesting ideas, and the space thing would be one, sir, then it might be that Anguilla is your petri dish to try out new legislation. And we only have 7 members of our parliament, so you could come and have coffee with each one of them almost every day, as I do, and get these things done properly and well and for a global better. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Before you leave and we take a photo, there is also one more announcement to make. Yuri, would you do the honor?
Shall we do it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Next year is actually the 10th birthday of Latitude59.
Yes. And who of you would like to come back? Yeah. The thing is, the tickets are very expensive, so we made it cheaper. If you buy today a ticket, it costs you only
39 euros.
39 euros. So go there on the latitude59.ee website, buy your ticket for the next year already today.
We have booked the venue. It's 25th and 26th of May next year.
Yes, the same place. Easy. Come and join. Thank you very much.